What's up, everybody? Good afternoon and welcome to 15 Minutes Free Thinking. Back again. Revived from the dead. I guess only people who have subscribed to me for quite a while would probably remember when I did these videos where I would have this sign in the background. And it was back in this room here. And I finally got my room back. I took the last, a few hours and I cleared myself a space. Personal space that I can come out and make my videos, because the garage is kind of I'm still in the garage, but I'm in like a side room. So I wanted to talk today, before I ramble on about me, I wanted to make a video talking about just accepting that we're all flawed and that we fuck up all the time. I'm a fuck up just like everybody else, and last night I was laying in bed and I was pondering something. I'd actually taken some MDMA, so that kind of helps to understand the story a little better. And I was laying there and I was having this picture in my mind, or this revelation of a person who had been born and raised under let's say a very strict upbringing, and had never touched drugs or alcohol, had lived out in the boonies, and comes to the city, and then one of their friends introduces them to mushrooms. And the person says, I've never even smoked pot, I've never even drank. Well, from a person who's taken psychedelics, they might think, oh, well, everybody needs to take mushrooms. And at one time, I remember saying, that most people should all try it once. And what I meant was people who don't have any type of prior underlying psychological issues such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, or anybody who has a medical condition which could, be harmed by such an experience. But I'm going to retract that now and say, yeah, I fucked up by saying that. And actually somebody called me out on it a few months ago on a video I'd made a while back. And I'd been thinking about it on and off, things like psychedelic experiences, and how intense it would be for somebody who hadn't jumped into it at age 15 like I did. We had my friend got a quarter sheet of acid for his birthday when he turned 15, so we went and we took 3 or 4 or 5 each, we didn't know what we were doing, and it was very easy to eat too much. At today's age, I'm very cautious. Even sometimes, I've been known to keep mushrooms around for like 2 years until they go bad and I end up having to throw them away. Because I'm trying to find the right time and the right moment for the experience, because it's such a revolutionary, eye-opening experience for me. But same goes for all things like that, as well as, entheogens, as well as empathogens, things like MDMA. And I'm not an expert on any substance. I'm not an expert on any drug. And I've also made mistakes, by when I've said things about, say, dopamine production, or I've gotten really excited about certain natural herbs and plants and stuff. And you gotta just realize that I'm very passionate about the things that I discover and that I'm interested in. And sometimes I might say something that comes across wrong. For example, somebody the other day, what was it? I was discussing with some guy in particular. He said, be careful what you're saying, because you said that, it was an article I read that said that Benadryl, your brain treats Benadryl or antihistamines like cocaine. And so I mentioned that on my video. I said that the brain treats it like cocaine. I wasn't very specific, although in the video I did address the fact that I'm not a doctor and everybody should clarify these things, that this is just what I've read. Somebody said, hey, be careful saying that, because some people take it wrong. They might think that it gets you high, and Benadryl sure doesn't get you high. So I went and found the article, and that was what it said. Antihistamines are, treated like cocaine, but of course it was much more complicated, and I should have been more specific. My point in saying this is that when I address a certain issue, or an herb, or just even a fact of life, or something, I hope people research things for themselves to figure this stuff out. Because Google is your friend, and I'm only as good as the research I can do, and it requires all of us to back each other up. And I've realized, because I'm a very independent researcher, but I've met a lot of people who aren't, and I've realized a lot of people really do want to just follow people and say, hey, what's the best for me? How does this work for me? And I'm always willing to give advice, but with a grain of salt, because I don't want anybody to think that, I'm trying to diagnose them or help them with something that I don't know, because I don't know you, and I don't know you as an individual. And too many people online are trying to do this, to diagnose other people's. And it's just, you got to be really careful with that kind of stuff. So I've got to be really cautious about what I say in videos, but at the same time, you got to realize that this is a vlog. This is a document of my diary of my thoughts. It's not an informational channel. Everything is done under people and, vlogs, not under fact. And with that being said, there are a lot of channels out there that I guess it's not just channels, it's people. If somebody says, I'm here to tell you the truth, and this is the truth, and this is a fact, those two words, fact and truth, both really kind of, they can turn me off if a person uses truth too much, especially if they say, I'm telling you the truth. Then it makes you suspicious. Now, there are some people who believe there are no universal, factual, absolute truths, that everything is in the eye of the beholder, and they start talking about observer effect and manifest reality and all this. Then we get into technical arguments, and in a lot of those arguments I've actually messed up too. I've said a lot of things that I thought were true, but then been called out on it, and it's like such an awesome experience to be like, okay, this guy is very intelligent in the way he worded this. That totally makes sense. Such as the other day when I was mistaking like intuition and wisdom, and I was getting some of the semantics, of it confused. I've been called out by people like Hot Retarded Chicks, subscriber for those who don't know, always calling me out on specific things, and I love it because I can sit there and go, okay, yeah, or maybe not, and he may have a more cynical view on some things than I do, but I totally share his cynical view of the world. And the funny thing is, people like him and others who have said that the world's kind of, I don't know if he said that specifically, but I've had several people say, hey, the world's really a messed up place. How can you even have a positive attitude? Look at what the system's done to our kids, to our environment, to the people. Everybody's in these generations and generations of slaves. And it was kind of like this morning when I sat back and I was talking with my wife and my son, I guess, about pollution or something, and I said, it was so much worse in the old days. It was my oldest son. He was 21, and he said last night he was out at the bar with some friends, and he met some girl, and they saw somebody throw their cigarette wrapper on the ground, and they both went down and both went to pick it up and said, hey, don't litter. And how my son was saying how rare that is, they were both surprised that they shared that. And it's like, that shouldn't be a surprise. Everybody should share that, don't litter attitude and try to, help out the world. But anyway, when I thought about pollution and I thought about litter, I thought about how much worse it was in so many places, and how we keep our cities a lot cleaner than a lot of places do. We have cleaned up our factories more than in the past, as well as many of our rivers and streams and lakes. If you look back at some of the pictures of where I live, Portland, in the 1920s, I think, in the 30s, they just direct sewage dump into the river. The rivers were horrible. They were disgusting. And today they're still pretty nasty, but, because we still have the CSO, or combined sewage overflow, during heavy storms. But they're working on it. My point is that, it's easy to see the society with a very cynical view, and a very, dismissive view, what a ridiculous thing. That's kind of why I revere society, because we've made the decision to make changes. We've begun to recycle. We've begun to do things right. And amidst it, I get very excited about certain things, and I might make a bold claim about something that, may or may not be true. But I do the best I can to be fair about the claims that I make and try not to be factual. Okay, I try to be factual. I try not to declare things as fact just because I'm saying them. So I want people to know that too. People, whether they're my old subscribers or my new subscribers, I want you to know that, I'm not here trying to tell you for a fact anything, whether it be about plants and herbs, about compounds in the body, about quantum physics, space, or the shape of the earth. I believe what I believe, and I'm very open to changing my mind when it's presented with a proper evidence to the contrary of what I believe. But let me finish this with one important point. If somebody's trying to present evidence to you, I should say to me, this is how I do it. If somebody's trying to present evidence to me, or I'm reading or learning something, and I find that it serves no purpose, that it cannot assist the world, that it cannot help me or my family or anyone around me, I abandon that. It doesn't mean I abandon all knowledge I can't use at the moment, because that would be like saying I abandon math because I haven't been able to use addition, or say I don't want to do higher math because the lower math I don't use. Eventually you will use it, and the more you accustom yourself to needing it, the more you will use it. So the more knowledge you have, the more you'll be able to utilize that, and the more opportunities you'll have to utilize that. But to remember that everything we learn is really, it needs to be double and triple checked, and that nothing I'm ever stating is fact, only to the best of my knowledge. And really that's all we have, is the ability to trust each other, our judgment. With the Aristotelian argument, we'd say that it'd be the ethos, pathos, and logos, which is, the quality of the person presenting it, the method with which he's presenting it, and the subject to which he's presenting. And they all have to be perfect and intertwined. And if any one of them's missing, it's very difficult to prove your point. So my point there is that I try to have ethos. Ethos means that you have credibility. It means people trust you. And I want that not for ego or not to prove anything, but because I like to help people. But I also realize that there are so many different types of people, and just knowing two things about a person does not help you diagnose anything about their lives. And so many people are trying to help each other. And this is why I have a hard time giving specific advice to people on things, especially herb consumption or what you should or shouldn't take. I know what works for me in life. I know, and I know what doesn't work for me. So I just like to share these things, and I really love being able to present it in a format on a computer like this, where I can record this and don't have to go through a big process to share stuff. And I started out humbly making videos about prepping and the end of the world, and this thing, I've altered and changed to a much more positive approach. I'm no longer saving dried goods and worrying about whether the neighbors have enough fortifications. It's for the shit to hit the fan. My attitude's changed, and with that I've realized that a lot of people still have that attitude, or are developing a negative attitude towards the future. And I just want to see people have a little bit of hope for it, do the best we can, and be as honest as we can with ourselves. Being honest with ourselves is really what I'm talking about here. To come out and say, yeah, we make mistakes. And next time you get in an argument and somebody says something, at least be willing to go, yeah, okay, that might be true, instead of instantly just saying no, because it's really easy to do. We all do it. It doesn't matter how rational or reasonable or wise you are. You will always argue against something without thinking about it if you feel like arguing. I guess, if you're some kind of master guru, maybe not. But for the rest of us, I bid you adieu, and thanks for watching. And I guess I've never said this before. If you want to, hit the subscribe button, hit it below. I didn't realize how many people don't really realize that there's a subscribe button on YouTube. Just take it for granted when you've been here for a while. And check out my other plant channel and my website for Carpos Botanicals. I sell various strains of Mitragynna speciosa, as well as various other herbs, canna, mucuna, And that's carposbotanicals.com. It's in the description, I'm sure. So I bid you all adieu, and you have a fantastic evening, morning, day, whatever it may be. And remember that when somebody's trying to present you the truth, take it with a grain of salt. Because if there was an absolute truth, it would have been proven a long time ago to people's satisfaction. And on that note, to kind of finish, I'm sorry I keep going, but I was saying how if you can't use the knowledge, what good is it? And this is what I've learned about the truth, is that if people are presenting, say, some truth of something that may or may not have happened, and it's not helping you to really do anything in life, it's a mere distraction. And it's not helping to explain anything. It's like arguing over the Big Bang, whether it happened or not. It doesn't matter. Something happened, and it's still happening. And we are living in something. You can't see the whole jewel when you're on a facet. So, namaste, everyone. Have a great evening.